Hi, this is Ryan Moore with OptiMiser, and this video is about using OptiMiser and the Nexus project management system together. So what we're going to do is look at it from the perspective of a company that's just starting to use Nexus, but might already have OptiMiser in the mix. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that OptiMiser is set up to communicate with Nexus. And that means that you are archiving files, your projects and OptiMiser to the web. So the way that you can tell to see if your OptiMiser program is set up correctly is to go into OptiMiser and go to the File menu. You should see a Send Project Files, Receive Project Files, and Manage ePortal Projects options in the File menu in OptiMiser. I'm going to go ahead and open the Manage Projects dialog. And what this is doing is it's actually contacting the OptiMiser ePortal, which is our web-based system for data handling, and it's seeing, okay, what projects are out there in your program. So this is just for my company that I've got here, and I can see there's a bunch of projects that are scheduled. They haven't yet been received by the end user. So these would be projects that somebody started in Nexus, like they got a call, a new client, they want to set up an audit, and so they create a job in Nexus, and these get queued for somebody in OptiMiser. You can also receive projects separate. Anyways, the point is, if you have these menu items and this dialog in OptiMiser, you're all set. There may be some settings that you want to work with us to tweak, but by and large, you are ready to go and connect to Nexus. If you don't have them, contact OptiMiser. If you have someone you're working with, call them, email them, or you can contact support at optimizerenergy.com, or go to our website and use the contact form there, the phone number there, and we will make sure that you're set up. Okay, so what if you're just starting to use Nexus to manage programs? You want to try Nexus out. But you've already been using OptiMiser. You haven't been archiving the projects to the web. So you've just been managing files on your computer or emailing them around. You haven't been archiving them to OptiMiser's web platform. That's fine. What you do first of all is make sure you work with OptiMiser to get your program set up so that your OptiMiser version is equipped to archive files, projects to the web, and collaborate with people over the web. And then when you do that and your OptiMiser version is set up correctly, you will have in your installation directory, which is usually in the C drive in Program Files x86 under OptiMiser. This one on my screen says OptiMiser Beta, but yours would just say OptiMiser. You would have a directory structure that looks like this. One of the folders will be the Send Receive Projects folder. And what you're going to do is go to wherever you are currently storing projects. Let's say that on your documents, in your documents folder under OptiMiser projects, say you have a bunch of projects stored in there now. What you want to do is just copy and paste all of those projects into the Send Receive Projects folder in OptiMiser. And that's going to let OptiMiser be able to find them to archive them to the web. That'll get them started in our web-based system. You don't have to do all your projects. You just have to do any projects that you want to work with in Nexus, any projects that are in progress that you want to be able to start working with in Nexus, or maybe there is some historical projects that you want to get archived in that way so that you can do some reporting on them. Whatever projects you want to move over, you can. So you grab them, you paste them in that Send Receive Projects folder, and then when you go into OptiMiser and choose Send Projects, OptiMiser is going to be able to find all those projects, and then you can select to send any of the ones that are in that folder. Like these are all the projects here that are in that Send Receive folder. I can send all of these. I just check them and I click OK, and they go up to the ePortal. Now they're ready to be worked with by Nexus. So that's how you get your existing projects up into the system. You paste them into the Send Receive Projects folder on your C drive, program files x86, OptiMiser, paste them in there, then go into OptiMiser and tell OptiMiser to archive them. Okay, so now I'm going to go to Nexus. So here I am in Nexus, and where I've gone is I've clicked on the ePortal tab here, and I hit request ePortal files, I won't do it again because it takes 30 seconds to a minute or something to refresh, but it goes and it finds all of the jobs that are archived to the web, but that aren't in progress in Nexus. They don't have a status, a project associated in Nexus. So this is kind of a waiting area. If you start jobs in OptiMiser, if you have old jobs in OptiMiser, you want to get them into Nexus, you go here. So say I have this Sawyer Maple Street project. This is one that I started in OptiMiser long ago. I've just archived it to the ePortal, and now I want to bring it in to Nexus. So I click on that, and it takes me to this page, which is like a summary of that project. And all you have to do is say create project, and it's going to ask you what project template you want to use. I only have one project template set up. Some of you may have more than one. You pick one and you select it, and it's going to copy all that information, and it's also going to put it in the right phase. So notice this one didn't start at the beginning because this was an old job. It's already been submitted, and now it's in this review and bidding phase in my project, my home performance project template. Okay, so that's what it knows where to put these projects in terms of your phase structure. And so the next step is going to be I can review this, and I can approve it or send it back or whatever. And I can continue to work on this. Okay, after I approve this, then I'll go into implementation, and it'll be available again. Okay, so let's start a new job. I've already in Nexus here, I've gone through the initial setup steps. Let's just review that first, so I can show you what I've done here to set up. I've gone into partners, and OptiMiser's given me my login first of all. So I've logged into the Nexus community, the Nexus platform, and if I want, I can go in here. This should be set up for you. You should have your program linked here. Here's my organization, the Sunshine Energy Co-op. Okay, so that should be already linked. And then you can fetch your ePortal users. Okay, so I'll go in here and say, yeah, so for the Sunshine Energy Co-op, I want to import any of my OptiMizer users. So this is going again to that ePortal area that's always connected to OptiMiser, and it's looking at your company and saying what licenses do they have, and if there's any names associated with those people, it's going to grab them. So here's another view of that. So here's omaudits.com. Here's where you can log in as the head of your organization and look at all the licenses, look at your usage, and you can also look at a summary of any files that you may have up there. So here's my Sunshine Energy Co-op, and you can see I have these 3 licenses in there, Johnny, Tammy, and Joe Auditor. Okay, so for a lot of you, if you've just purchased OptiMiser, if you sign into OMAudits, you won't have names associated with these licenses. So you can actually go in here and click on those links under auditor name, and you can edit the names there. That way, when you bring them into Nexus, so here I am back in Nexus, I'm going to import contacts. Now it actually brings in those names. I didn't have last names in those Johnny and Tammy, so it called them Johnny, Johnny, and Tammy, Tammy. You can go in and correct that if you want to. If you don't put names in on the OMAudits end, it'll just put the license number here as well, so you can go in there and edit those. It also brings in their OptiMiser license. So that way, when I assign jobs, it knows who to assign them to. To edit these contacts, again, these are I could find these by just going to partner. These are auditor partners. I can go into Johnny, and I can just double click in there and edit that name. I can also change the type, whether it's auditor or contractor, it doesn't really matter. And That's all I have to do. Okay, so now I'm going to go back. So that's my whole setup. So I'm going to go and start a new project. I'm going to click the new lead button down here. I can also do that from leads. And I'm going to put in, let's put in Lindsay. Lindsay Horace in 89 North Gumbo in New Orleans, Louisiana. Okay, and then I'll hit save on that. And it gives me some potential options here. So it says that's not a real address. This is going to actually uses Google to validate these addresses. You don't have to use one of their addresses, but it is a good way to keep clean, unique addresses in the system for each of your properties. So I'm going to say, yeah, that's 219 Bourbon Street. If I didn't want to use one of those options, I would go ahead and select one anyways, and then when I get here to my lead record, I can just double click and I can edit that again. Okay, so if Google doesn't know this address that you have, you can always edit it. And then I might want to give them an email, fill out any information that I have while it's in the lead. So this is a lead. I'm going to keep working this, keep calling it. I can create, I can send them an email from here. I can create reminders for myself. And when they're ready to do an audit, I'm going to hit the Create Project button. Okay, again, it asks what template I want to use. I'm going to use my home performance template. So now I have a project. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and assign an auditor. Okay, and let's do it on Thursday the 18th. Okay, I'll save that. And I could fill in other information too if I wanted to. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and go to the audit phase. So I've done my scheduling, I've done my assignment, I've assigned it to Johnny, given it a date, and I'm going to switch it over to the audit phase. Now, when I do that, I'll go down here. You can see that this is actually done a special action because it's gone into the audit phase and I've assigned it to somebody and given it a date. Nexus knows to try to send that to OptiMiser. If I've assigned it to an OptiMiser user, it'll go and try to send that information to that user's OptiMiser installation. So when I go back into OptiMiser and I hit receive, I can see this project in receive or manage. Then down at the bottom here is my Horace at 219 Bourbon Street. I'm going to uncheck those and just receive this new audit. Okay, so I hit OK after selecting what I want to select. And that comes down and it says received. Okay, so I'm going to go File, Open. It takes me, by default, when you have the ePortal running, it takes you to your Send Receive Projects folder where all of your web-based projects are. And I'm going to open my Horace project. And you can see that it's got some information preloaded here. It loads the location for me and whatever other information I would have had in there in that lead. It will pre-fill for me. Okay, so now let's say I've gone in and I've modeled this home. I've done some improvements. I'm going to save it. I am also going to take a shortcut and generate HTML. This is the special developer way of generating HTML. For most people, you have to go to your HTML button, make sure you've cleared any major quality control issues, and then generate HTML that way. I'm also going to go ahead and generate a PDF report, a homeowner report for this project. I'm just going to use my my default settings. Okay, and now I'm going to go to File, Send. And it's got my Horus file. It says it's worked, so that just means that it's a file that I've worked on. It's not a raw file, and it's ready to submit. So it's already pre-checked for me. I could click on it and I could go in there and I could assign it to somebody else if I wanted to, or if I wanted to submit and advance that into a retrofit phase right now, then I can do that. In fact, why don't I go ahead and do that? So I'll say I want to submit, and then it's going to actually archive this audit file, and it's going to create a new file in the retrofit phase. So that's ready for test out. So someone, either myself or someone else, can download that file and put in test out information later on. And it says, when I send this, it's actually going to clear that information from my local machine. So those files, including the report and everything, won't be there anymore. It's actually sending that to the ePortal, and then Nexus is going to pick them up from there. Okay, so that's sent. And then when I close out of that window, it starts a new project because that file has been sent now. So I can no longer keep working on that. I would have to go and pull it back down in order to modify it now. So let's go back to Nexus. Here's my Horus project. Let me refresh that. Okay, and I'm going to use this button. After a while, every hour or so, it'll go through all of the projects and it'll update the status of everything. You can force it to find the current status of the projects that you're looking at by hitting the Retrieve All ePortal Files button. So this is going and saying, is there any updated information about this project that an OptiMiser user may have submitted? You can see that this now has skipped all the way to the implementation phase because I've actually I submitted and advanced this project, so the latest is actually in the retrofit phase now. So if you wanted to have a review stage, if you wanted to wait in review, then you wouldn't advance it at the same time that you send it. You just submit it, and then it would sit there until you wanted to advance it. But I chose to just submit it right away and advance it. So now it's kind of waiting in this retrofit implementation phase. So you can manage those projects either way. And you can also see that I've got some estimated energy savings. So it's pulled that information from the HPXML file that OptiMiser submitted. You can see all the different files that were submitted and actually grab them. So you have links to download each of these files. So here's the OPT file. Here's that homeowner report. Okay, here's the photo archive. Any photos that were in the report are saved separately. And then here's the HPXML. Again, you have all the project detail. You also have the building information that you can look at. And that's always kept updated with the most current information from OptiMiser.